On January 13th, right after scheduled maintenance, PREPATCH will be released, and each character must choose whether they advance to TBC this time or they decide to go back to Classic Era. Not the expectation of what we had. We thought we were going to get Classic Era transfers, but no. A lot of people had speculated that we would actually be able to go to TBC and to Classic Era. Lo and behold, we actually can't. It's one or the other this time. Not only that, but the Burning Crusade Classic Anniversary Edition upgrade confirmed now and costs $79.99. That is $640 extra with tax, by the way, and over $85. All this has been confirmed in a recent post from Wowhead and Blizzard themselves, with a few new changes as well. In the original post, they go over basically what's going to be available in the beginning, which is the first phase, the PvP season, flying mounts, jewel crafting, and guild banks. I'm unsure if guild banks are actually launching with PREPATCH or they come at the beginning of the expansion, but we won't have to wait until phase 2. So you guys can work on consolidating all your guild items potentially into your one bank now, and potentially swapping it over to the actual bank, which is like a huge win for GMs and people in positions of just admin power and logisticness. This could be very, very nice to have this earlier in phase 1 to deal with all the shadow cloth and all the other things, blacksmithing supplies, for all your said main characters. Again, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video before, Anniversary Realms are not actually allowing a cloning service this time. It's a straight up transfer. So there's no choosing both, there's only choosing one side or the other. And as I mentioned before, Classic Era is not getting an actual character clone service. They're getting a straight up transfer, meaning you have a choice to go to the Burning Crusade with your character or put it on the Era servers. A lot of people were speculating, myself included, that we were going to get a cloning service because it was shown recently, like as of like a couple months ago, of a character being able to transfer over to Era. And then recently I found in a giant TBC store area that we were going to have a cloning service, but it ends up to be a transfer service. As well as Classic Era is getting changes. The first time it's getting changes since the Stormrend thing. Classic Era is going to be getting dual spec, instant mail between your BattleNet accounts, and the Dungeon Finder tool. Now, these are just a few things that we talked about earlier on stream, but I want to get all the details all organized for you in one place with timestamps, which will be in the video description below. So if there's anything that you specifically want to skip to, we're going to be going over everything that was shown to us. We recently found out that we have a PTR that's going to be coming within the week, which we ourselves will be streaming, as well as I'm sure a few others. But if you want to keep up to date with that, don't forget to like, subscribe, and then share the video with others as well so that they know the PREPATCH is actually coming in January 13th. A lot of people thought it was going to come in December. Not me. I had this feeling that it was going to be coming in January, and that I think that's a good time personally, just because you don't have to deal with the hustle and bustle of the holidays. A lot of people are thinking it's a bad time, but I think with the holidays, logistically, trying to keep the raid together and doing such things, I think that would have been too hard. But that's just my opinion. Again, you only have until January 12th to do these transfers, by the way. I just want to reiterate that. You only have until January 12th, because on January 13th, that next day, PREPATCH launches. And that's when all the boosted characters and all those services will be available to actually be in the game. You can actually pre-purchase the boost now. You get the 30 days of game time. You get the boosted, you get the 58 character loaded up, but you can't use it yet. We're also going to be talking about some changes that are actually coming to TBC. They're actual changes. There's a bloodlust change. There is a reputation change. There is arena changes. What's going to happen with hardcore? We're going to go over all of that information right now, actually. Again, this will all be in the timestamp below, just in case you're wondering what is what and what information you really wanted to pick and pull from this. If you wanted to follow along, etc. It will all be in the description below, explaining everything that we're going over currently. Again, thank you for watching. I'm excited for the Burning Crusade, and if you are too, don't forget to like and subscribe, because we have loads of TBC content coming just for you. Now, let's talk about some of these changes. We have a post from the community manager, Kyvax, where they go over that the PTR will open very soon this week. I was actually talking to Guide MMO about this recently. Are we going to get a beta to test out some stuff? Because we presumed that there were going to be a bunch of changes, and it looks like our presumptions were right. So the first patch 2.5.5 patch unlocks Outland and allows testers to reach 70. For this PTR, in addition, all the content of the Eastern and the Western Kingdoms and Outland will be available. So I don't know if we're going to be doing any raiding, but it looks like it says all the content. So I'd assume we get everything, but you know what happens when you assume? You make an ass out of you and me. Following changes are coming to TBC Classic Anniversary and are planned for testing in this PTR loop. And again, this is PTR, not a beta, meaning that it should be open access to everyone that has a subscription, which is probably good, because the more the better. I hate when like betas are just set to content creators and streamers. Even though genuinely I fall in that bracket, it doesn't always mean that things get tested properly. Everyone just kind of runs around and just says TBC beta, oh my god, TBC beta in their title. But let's talk about a few things that are coming. First, Bloodlust is now raid-wide with a 10-minute sated exhaustion debuff. The specific ability debuff will only reset on a boss kill and a wipe. So if you kill a boss and you pop Bloodlust, it will then reset. And the same thing, if you die, it will then reset. Terracone's respawn rate is increased and additional Terracone nodes have been added. Now, they did this technically with Black Lotus before they went full nuclear and decided to add Black Lotus to other high-end herb nodes with the max level herbalism skill. So I don't know if they do change that any more than they do, but I'm interested to see how much we actually get as far as the Terracone spawns. Maybe they spawn in more regions. Maybe they spawn in the beginning. I'm unsure. We're going to find that out in the PTR very soon, hopefully. And then the edit mode added as a quality of life option for players' user interfaces. So basically, if I read this correctly, the edit mode is what we have in retail. So you can move your UI a little bit easier because they're trying to modernize things and bring it all homogenized into one code. Now that's the beginning of the changes. Now, people will ask me, is this going to change five shamans? This doesn't mean totems are raid-wide. So, no, I don't think this changes your comp too much. You may drop one shaman for a small group and add in either another warlock or another mana battery shadow priest or potentially one of your best friends. Like, your comp's a little bit more loose. But generally, you're still probably going to have the 5 shamans just for the totems, depending, again, on your composition of group. But you won't have to rely on multiple bloodlust going to a specific group, because that used to kind of be the meta, because you used to be able to filter in all the other shamans. You would actually have another man. So instead of 25-man rating, you'd have 26-man rating, because someone would be on Discord watching and swapping in outside of the raid, just swapping in shamans for specific bloodlust times. Again, I don't think this changes the dynamic too much. I personally would have preferred a party sated, so that way you could stagger lusts at different times, a healer lust, a ranged DPS lust, and a melee DPS lust. This may change the meta a little bit. I could be wrong, and it could fit perfectly normal. So we have some changes to heroic dungeons as well. Every player's first character will require them to be fully attuned, hitting revered reputation level. But upon doing this, for each dungeon, players can purchase a bag, which contains a bind on Battle.net account key to send to alts. So basically, what we're going to get is kind of similar to the SOD change with raids as well. Alts must reach at least friendly rep to use the key and grants the attunement to the character though. So that's something to think about. You at least need to get friendly, so you need to do the entry-level quests in the area, most likely, to get to friendly, or do like 1 or 2 dungeons. That's normally how you hit friendly. And you'll normally do that on your alt, probably for a piece of gear or 2. So that's something that's like not that difficult to reach. Let me tell you how Black Morass, you're going to do that hourglass run a bunch of times. So even on your alt, you're not even going to be that stressed for rep on most places to get to friendly. It's very simple. What they haven't stated is the reputation rewards. So it looks like the rep rewards are still tied behind rep. So therefore, you're probably still going to have to do a bunch of normal runs to be efficient about it. But this makes it so on alts, you can at least get into the heroic dungeon to get the heroic loot right off the rip. I don't know if a lot of people are going to be talking about the fact that reputation rewards still require you to be exalted, but that's why I'm here to talk about these things and break them down for you. I got a little ahead of myself earlier talking about the raids as well, kind of like the SOD change with the Oni attunement. The raids, every player's first character will be required to be fully attuned for each raid, but upon doing so, that raid will be unlocked for all characters on the player's Battle.net account. So raid will be released in their post-nerf state as well, probably most likely to combat the raid-wide bloodlust. Because as I stated earlier, in TBC, there was the healer lust, there would be the DPS melee lust, and the ranged lust. Most likely we got the post-nerf state just to combat that difficulty, because a pre-nerf Vosh was very difficult when feeding and chaining bloodlust to a specific range group. Now, it may actually feel still pretty difficult because it just has to be a raid-wide lust. But again, maybe this is trying to make the raids more puggable since GDKPs aren't a thing. And again, I know someone's going to be in the comment complaining about how I'm talking about a GDKP, but GDKPs aren't a thing. So that means the overall player average is quite lower, if you ask me, when it comes to the pug scene. I've seen more pugs fail this time around than I have ever seen, and that is partially due to the GDKP meta being completely erased. So most people are, the better people are more inclined to join the guild to try to get the gear. Whereas last time, most of those people didn't even join a guild and they just played at the level they were playing at in a GDKP and made their gold, yada yada. All right. Now Arena gets a pretty significant change too. Now back in the day, the shoulders used to be a 2200 rating and the weapons used to be 1850, but that changes this time around. So during the original Burning Crusade, felt good to get a team that started at 1500, throw together some people, participate in 10 games to receive points each week without having to climb back up from zero. With the Burning Crusade Classic Anniversary Edition, we're interested in bringing that team's feeling back by encouraging players to participate in the system more than ever before. However, as we lean into the feeling of teams, we want you to be able to play with whomever you like without requiring you to make a team. So, arena points earned are still based on your individual rating. Each character rating now starts at 1500 instead of 0. And then once per week, per character, you can pay gold to reset your rating back up to 1500. This is only possible if you're below 1500, and ratings above 15 cannot be reset. This is so you don't cheese brackets to get points. The gold will be varied based on your team's bracket. Each bracket, 2v2, 3v3, and 5v5, has its own weekly reset as well. There's no requirements in order to be able to purchase the PvP gear for any pieces, except for the shoulders, which were 2200 and are now down to 2000, and the weapons, which were 1850 and are now down to 1700 rating. And their overall change in reasoning was that they still wanted to maintain the prestige of earning some of the nice looking shoulders or the titles for those competing for the top spots, but overall, we'd like to make gearing up and participating in PvP more accessible at the entry level, particularly for players who might struggle to reach higher brackets. So that is most likely why they brought the weapons down a little bit more, because there were people that just wanted to play for the 1850 and then they basically just dipped. So I guess now we're bringing them down to 1700, and the overall cost of the PvP gear has been lowered slightly. So loading up the 75,000 honor and pre-patch might hold more of its value now than it ever did, as well as the faction rep PvP gear will now be sold starting within the first arena season. And the item set bonuses from the faction rep gear, as well as their honor gear, so the Grand Marshal or the High Warlord sets, are combined. So that means you can mix and match honor and the reputation pieces to unlock 2 and the 4-piece set bonuses, which is a pretty big win, I think, and it makes the PvP system more accessible to newer players. Again, the top of the top shouldn't really notice too much of a change because the top of the top will be playing with the top of the top. But more along the bottom and the middle end of the pack, you may see a difference, a very large difference, in how the players operate while playing the game. You'll be able to tell someone that once played PvP versus someone that's never played PvP and just wants to give it a shot. I think that's like kind of a welcoming feature. They're trying to make things a little bit better for the casual player. Making the gear more accessible to average players with less time might be a nice thing and a nice quality of life addition. I was never a big PvPer. I would always just get the weapons and basically dip out every season. So I'm interested if some of you arena gamers have anything to chime in with this. I'd love to hear your take in the comments below. So now let's talk about some of the transfers that are going to be happening. So if you didn't want to go to TBC, but you wanted to play Era, there will be a free character transfer from Anniversary Realms to Classic Era, and it will start as early as the 25th, next week. You will not be able to move after the 12th of January, the day before pre-patch, basically. After the 12th, players will no longer be able to move to Classic Era, and characters that are remaining on the Classic Anniversary servers are confirmed locked in to going to TBC permanently. There's no going back from that. So that means you get to choose one or the other again. This is a one-way ticket to Era or a one-way ticket to the Burning Crusade. And they even mentioned the hardcore servers. Looks like something very similar is going to be happening with hardcore, but hardcore doesn't maintain its hardcore status if you decide to go to the Burning Crusade this time around. So as there's no plan for hardcore TBC servers during the transfer window, players that have a character on Anniversary Hardcore Realms will have the option to transfer their characters to the normal non-hardcore Anniversary Realms so that they can continue to TBC. So if you actually expect to play TBC Hardcore, you're expected to do it with an add-on and not officially through Blizzard. If you do not move your character off of the hardcore Anniversary servers, you will stay on there, and this is until that you have until the 12th to make this decision to go into a normal server or stay on the hardcore servers. Players who do not move their Anniversary Hardcore characters to normal Anniversary realms before the 12th of January will stay on the current realm, and it will stay hardcore. But if you happen to die after the 12th of January, you will be transferred to the Classic Era realms and return to the living instead of transferring to Dream Scythe after you perish, unfortunately. So you will be going to Classic Era. Something that changes with Classic Era, as I may have mentioned before in the beginning of the video, is when you make your decision to transfer, you should be considering some of the following: that the Group Finder tool, the dual spec feature, and the instant mail feature will be available soon through Classic Era. That means new and existing characters that are on the Classic Era realms currently will have the option to learn dual spec and be able to use the Dungeon Finder tool. At the same time, the rule sets between Anniversary Hardcore and the original Hardcore realms will be aligned. This means the original Hardcore realms will relieve dual spec, instant mail, and Dungeon Finder tool as well. There's no other changes planned for Classic Era or the Hardcore realms as part of this update. They've even acknowledged that this is a rather large change even for Classic Era, which has been untouched even basically since the Storm Ren buff. And when that happened, like, they realized, okay, we're gonna take our hands off of it. A lot of people don't like changes to Classic Era because it is what Classic was before all the changes and all the different iterations between Seasons of Mastery, SOD, and what we have with Anniversary with the dual spec, the Group Finder tool, and the instant mail. And they stated, we recognize that to some players, any change being brought to the Classic Era, the original hardcore environment, arrives with hesitation. We acknowledge this, and we want you to know that we consider any change we make to these realms extremely carefully. In the case of the Group Dungeon Finder tool, we consider that to be a true quality of life update, bringing players an additional and intuitive way to connect with each other. A simple quality of life update is edit mode, allowing players to edit their user interfaces, which we are adding as a new change to the Burning Crusade Anniversary servers. Quality of life user interface options like edit mode could eventually make their way to the Classic Era as well. And we look forward to the community's thoughts and opinion on the user interface quality of life additions such as this. The choice to bring dual spec to Classic Era similarly received a tremendous amount of consideration in listening to the community's thoughts on this future. Since it's an introduction to Vanilla WoW in Season of Discovery, and again, from the very start of Classic Anniversary, the introduction of dual spec to Vanilla WoW has been arguably the single most popular new feature and one of the most well-perceived in the Classic space. Players have praised that it simply makes the game more fun to play, and our hope is that Classic Era players will enjoy it as much. I know recently I've been playing with Sam Medina on Classic Era, and the other day we got my Whirlwind Axe, and he was still in fire spec from Raid, and he recently went to go try to kill the dragon that runs down the line from Terran Mill, and as soon as he hit it, he realized it was immune to fire. Surprise. So this may be welcoming to some of the newer players from Classic Era, and I think a lot of the Classic Era players that do PvP or like to do PvP, this maybe is like a semi-welcoming change. It's not really a big thing for Gold Sync because they already have a ton of gold. They have GDKPs. But this post will be in the description below because at the very end of the post, look here for raid testing dates, times, and more details in weeks to come. So we're going to favorite that ourselves as well. And again, this is going to be down in the description below, as well as this right here. This page right here will be in the description below if you'd like to read through it as well. One last thing that we're going to look at in this video is actually the boost. We've done a video already on the 58 boost and what was in the package specifically, but we have a little bit more information now. as of right now, Blood Elves and Dranei cannot be boosted. We know that in Mists of Pandaria, people ended up complaining and they ended up giving them monks in the following week or two. So I imagine if everyone just starts complaining, you guys will get your Draeneis and your Blood Elves. Personally, it does not affect me because I'm not playing either of them. It's not really the greatest attitude to have about it, but again, I don't think it's something that's absolutely necessary. You can play the game. We don't know how long pre-patch is going to be, by the way. That's something that we haven't talked about in this video yet. We don't even actually have a confirmed how long pre-patch is. We just know pre-patch is January 13th. It also does not state currently that this is a limited purchase, but we have confirmed that the Star Shard Nether Drake will be available immediately in Mist, and it will also be available in Classic Anniversary. So that means you will save the mount cost. If it works anything like the Phase Hunter from last time, it will scale with your mount skill. Now, this doesn't save you all the money in the world. It saves you about 13 to 1400 gold in total, because that just means you just need to buy the riding skill instead of the mount. The riding skill was the most expensive part in TBC. It switched around from actual classic, where the riding mounts were expensive and the training was cheap. If I'm correct in pre-patch, how this is going to function, because we're going to have this in pre-patch on the 13th, is this mount is not going to be a flying mount. It will function as a ground mount. And if you have the epic riding or you have an epic mount, this will currently scale up to that. Buying the current 25 gold epic riding will not give you epic riding to make this mount epic. You need a bind on pickup epic mount, that being the Zulian Swift Tiger, the Raptor, the Baron mount, the AV mount, the rank 11 mounts. Those will all give you epic riding going into pre-patch, because the riding was changed in the actual pre-patch and leading into the Burning Crusade. It's all in the patch notes. So we assume this right here will save you the cost of normal flying and epic flying, basically just in mount cost. Not in the riding skill. So you're still going to be paying a couple hundred gold and then another 5,000 gold. So this does not save you 5,000 gold by getting this package. It only just saves you a small amount. Everything shown on the left side of the package goes to both Classic and Mist, except for the boost itself. The only thing that does not go over to Mist, because it's only a 58 level character boost that's specifically meant for Anniversary. There's breaking downs of it going from the modern to the actual Nether Drake flying mount. Now you may be wondering why I said January 13th. And this right here is stating on or before January 31st. That's just due to EU law. This could actually be a mix-up with the community team and the actual team that's launching this package. They could be two different departments, and they maybe haven't communicated. But pre-patch is January 13th. All these mounts will be available on that 13th. Your character boost will be available on the 13th. You can currently buy it now, but again, don't get anything in Classic Anniversary until we actually get pre-patch. So if you just want these things in pre-patch, then you will have to wait and buy them then. Or you will wait until maybe your game time's up and then buy them to get the 30 days game time, your character boost that will be loaded on your account but not usable until pre-patch. And then you'll have all the mounts in Classic, Mists, and you'll have all the mounts in Mop. And all those things, all the toys, the Hearthstone, all that stuff will be available for you to use before the 13th. But obviously, again, the Anniversary stuff will only be available as soon as pre-patch launches. So I hope that clarified a lot of information. I know people have just been talking about the pre-patch launching. There's going to be a lot of information that we have with all the new changes that are coming to the game. We're going to be testing them out on PTR, so don't forget to follow the Twitch. If you have any other questions from this video, the comment section below is fine, or my Discord, which I will have in the description as well. We will be streaming every day on Twitch, and the Twitch will be in the description and the pinned comment below. What do you think about the recent news about it actually launching and it not being just 2 weeks out? I don't know if you remember this, but Classic Anniversary, we were given 17 days until it actually launched. We were given roughly anywhere from 15 days up to the max of 24 days warning before a new content phase launch. This time, roughly around 50-something days, 56 days before, as a heads up. I think it's nice to actually have communication for once from Blizzard. It still isn't the best communication. It is better than nothing, and I'm glad we got communication now. Some people are upset that it's not launching in December. but I'd like to hear what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Are you excited that we're getting pre-patch right after the holiday break? Are you excited that you're available to purchase this before the holidays, so that way you can plan for it, potentially, just before, and you're given like a month and a half advance, almost 2 months, to figure out if it's actually worth it. Is it valuable enough for you? $80 price tag for a boost and 30 days game time with a bunch of toys and a few mounts to save you maybe 1,000 gold in the game. Kind of a stretch, but I'm not the person that spends your money. I don't pay your sub. Again, none of this stuff is required for you to purchase. That boost is not required for you to purchase to go into the Burning Crusade. It's only required for you to purchase if you want the mounts, if you want the toy, if you want the Hearthstone, and if you want the 58 character boost in the 30 days game time. Don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to share the video with your guild to keep them up to date. We're going to be doing a ton of TBC content in the extreme near future, as well as a podcast that's going to be going live in December. We're going to have multiple guests on stream and YouTube videos going over changes that we see in PTR, as well as knowledge and information that we can share about the game. I appreciate everyone for watching. I know this was a long video. I did the stream earlier and went over all the topics, and I just had a bunch of questions, so I was just bibbity-bopping around. I wanted to keep it all uniform and in one place, so that way you can kind of go back and forth to it and read it over and figure out yourself what was what. I'm excited that TBC launches extremely soon. Basically, when I thought it was going to be, I kind of expected a January pre-patch. A lot of people, again, thought in December, but I thought that was too early just based on Nax. They love to milk Nax. Nax is arguably the best raid in Classic as well, so I'm having a great time in Classic. I've had a great time this anniversary. Consume prices were through the roof, and I can't wait to get to Burning Crusade. That's all I can say. Thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.